Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy Frankie. Welcome to the first ever YouTube edition of the Before the Scrap podcast. I gotta warn you, I make some cringy faces at the camera during the interview. I look at the camera a bit funny, make these weird faces. It's just that I couldn't find myself. It was the first time that I do a video interview, and I didn't know whether to look at the camera or look at the guest's face, and then I ended up making this weird face. So I'm getting there. I promise quality will only improve from now on. But regardless, KD, Kyle Driscoll is the man. This guy is fighting on Dana White's Contender Series September 15th. He's getting that contract, no doubt. No doubt about it. Absolutely no doubts. So I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. I enjoyed every bit of it. I hope you guys do too. All right, Kyle, KD, Driscoll, what's up? How you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for asking. How's Cali?
It's great. We got some fires going on, but other than that, it's good.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask about. I have an aunt living in San Jose and another one in LA, and they say they just wake up to a bunch of ashes on top of their cars. How bad is it really?
It's bad. They have the air quality index, and it's been in the hundreds, which is severe. Anytime you go outside, it just smells like a campfire. It's pretty weird. So a lot of my cardio is inside right now.
I see. And how long has this been going on for?
Maybe 2 weeks now. They said lightning struck, and then fires just spread. The high wind speed spread these fires, and it's been about 2 weeks.
And Cali's always been sort of notorious for this, right?
Yeah, I've been here 3 years. This is crazy.
Oh, it's your third year.
Yeah,
Where are you from originally?
I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Middle of
And
the
big
country.
difference, right, Cali?
Huge difference. Such a different world out here.
How do you adapt to it?
I like it, man. I mean, for the most part, it's just great weather and good training, so you can't beat it. But we're weird times of life right now, so having to acclimate.
Yeah. And you're right by the bay, right?
Yep, right by the bay. We got Santa Cruz, San Fran's not far. Tahoe's not far. It's a good little central area to be wherever you want to be.
Yeah, the boardwalk's cool, right?
The boardwalk's really cool.
You do any surfing, man?
I don't. I'm terrified of sharks.
Yeah? Like just sharks or the sea in general?
I don't mind the sea. I like going to the sea. I can swim out there, but sharks, man. I don't want to risk that one.
Yeah, it's a scary thing to face, man. Hey, it's weird how fighters actually admit their fears because you got this image of them as these ruthless guys that go and kick ass in the cage, and it's kind of funny to hear it. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, well, those sharks will do it.
Yeah, they'll definitely do it. Okay, you in a sec. And as it's your third year, what pushed you to make that move to Cali, or how did it come up?
I had a fight for LFA, and I lost a split decision, close fight. And I just knew that I knew what I could become in this sport, but I knew there was going to be a lot of work ahead, and it was going to have to be in the right place. So I had a teammate coming out here. He was switching from college wrestling, coming out here to fight, and I hopped on board. I came out here to change my life, to train full time and pursue this dream. That's what
All
brought
right.
me out here.
And before dedicating yourself full time to this, what did you do before fighting?
I wrestled. I grew up wrestling. Wrestling was life. Uh, College, played some rugby. I got burned out with wrestling in high school. When I tried college rugby, that was fun. And then I didn't feel fulfilled. I like individual sports. I like to know it's on me. The outcome's on me. So a year of that in New Hampshire, I moved back home And I had fought in high school. When I was 17, I took a fight. I lied to the commission and I told them I was 18. And I took a fight. I'd been training. And so after rugby, I was like, man, I want to pursue that. I want to try it. Let's see, you know? So I kind of got an amateur career going. And that's when it all took off full time.
And how old were you really when you took that fight?
The very first fight, I was 17.
17.
Yeah, it's a cool story. So when I was 15, maybe 16, I would go from my wrestling practice to an MMA gym, a local MMA gym. My older cousin was he was like 10-0 at the time, I believe, fighting for Bellator. And so I would just go in there and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, just be around these fighters. And we had a guy from the gym fighting. I was just going to go see what it's about in the back. And a guy from Texas had an opponent pull out, but he had sold a bunch of tickets. So the promoter was like, hey, is anyone here around 170 down to fight? I gave my wallet to my coach at the time. And I said, I weighed 168. I was like, I'll do it. I was a junior in high school. They're like, well, you're fighting in 20 minutes. You're the second fight. Like, go take a physical. I had to borrow these shorts that went past my knees, and that's like my biggest pet peeve. Mouth guard. My mouth was all like bubbled up. And I got in there, and it was ever since then, I kind of knew that's what I wanted to pursue if I could.
And how'd it go?
We came out. Dude he was a grown ass man. He was like 35 at the time. We got in the cage and the ref was like, fighter, are you ready? And I couldn't swallow. I had a log in my throat. I was so scared. And we came out and he threw his big overhand. I ducked underneath it, took him down, choked him out in a minute and a half, and fell in love.
Well, that's a confidence booster, right?
Yeah, fell in love.
And that feeling that you get, that nervousness before a fight, do you still get that up to this day, or have you kind of got a hold of that adrenaline?
I've got it. I got it tuned in. You know, we use it. I have a sports psychologist, Toby, and I've been working with him since I got to AK, and we channel it. We use it. It's not so much like nervousness as it is like excited to perform, right? It's just kind of channeling what those feelings are. They're going to be there. We're terrified when we go in there. It's just, how do you identify those feelings, you know? So now, I mean, I've experienced my last two fights. I was telling him that I'm nervous at how unnervous I am. Like, why am I not nervous right now? And that's normal, you know, as your skill develops, and being at a gym like AK, you train with such a high level that comes with it. But every fighter's scared to death before they make that walk. It's how you channel it. And I've grown a lot with how I channel that.
All right. And you mentioned you have a sports psychologist. How important is that for you?
I think that's huge. This game's mental. A lot of things we do in life is mental, but especially when you got two men in a cage with their will to win in there, it's mental. We're doing visualization sessions right now. So I've already fought this dude a handful of times. You know, I've made that walk to that cage. I felt the same exact nerves and emotions. He told me that they hooked up Olympic runners to these, they hooked them up, and they had them like in a meditation session, and they ran their events in their mind, and the same small like the micro muscle twitch fibers were being triggered. So that just kind of shows you what you can paint in your head, and you can add experience. So September 15th, when it's time to walk to the cage, I mean, we've done this for the past 17 days now. We've made this walk. So I think it's big for just feeling it. So it's not such a shock when you do get there.
A total game changer then, right?
Yeah.
It's just another level of preparation. So.
Yep.
And it's your third year in Cali, and you were telling me that you came over with $300 or $400 to your name, committed to $700 in rent. this was with your training partner, you said, right? You were living in his living room.
Yeah, I was in Kyle Crutchmer was coming out here. He had just finished wrestling at Oklahoma State, and I didn't have money. You know, this is a hard enough sport being on the come up, let alone coming off a loss. And I just knew the sacrifice it was going to take, you know, living in the living room, riding with him everywhere. But I knew this day would come. Back then, I saw this perfectly clear. You know, this was my motivation. Although not everyone else saw it, I saw it. I knew it. There's a handful of people around me that knew this day would come too. But I cherish that. I cherish those days and that grind right there. What it took. I have some loyal sponsors, some mom and pop shops from back home that help me out a little bit monthly if I need it. Stuff like that kept me afloat. And then fighting very actively. I think my first 2 years out here, I fought 3 or 4 times both years, maybe 3. So I was active. That helped a lot.
And you got to Cali with a 5-3 record, you told me, right? And did ever having such a mixed record ever kind of put you down, or was there any point in which you doubted yourself?
Yeah, of course. You know, there's things weren't going my way. I turned pro at 20. So, and then my pro debut was for Legacy against a 5-0 guy. I was a up and coming wrestler. My coach at the time he was a good coach, but he wasn't a good manager. He didn't know the matchup. So he was just a yes man. And so I was the product of that, you know, sitting at 5-3. I was better than 5-3 and I knew it. I wasn't, that pro debut was stupid. There were some stupid fights. So of course, when I got out here, you know, maybe a rough day of training would bring it on, start doubting for sure. I'm 5-3, you know, this doesn't make sense much, but that's where that sports psychologist Toby came into play big time. We built a great relationship over the past 3 years, and he just kind of always kept my mind on straight, like see it clear. And through the years, I've gotten better. You know, it's all about, like, everyone has self-doubt. It's just how quick can you direct it back to that positive self-talk. So I always had it, but I just channeled it. I redirected it, used it as fuel. I knew people were doubting me, and, you know, a lot of fighters, a lot of athletes, that doubt fuels them. When you feel that doubt from other people, that's gasoline on the fire to keep going.
Exactly. And well, coming to Cali, rent in Cali is nasty, right? It's expensive, right?
Especially up here, man. This is Silicon Valley. Everyone's out here.
Yeah, I got a bro up there that he had a hard up and coming in his field. He said that people actually rent just the couch in the living room. Like, I'll rent you my couch and just sleep on the couch, no access to anything. How true is that? Is it really that bad?
That's true. It's that bad. We have guys that'll come in from like different countries and they'll hop on Airbnb, and yeah, we've had guys rent couches, closet spaces, put a little mattress in the closet space. It's crazy out here, and they're still paying $800 a month for that, or $700 a month for that. That's cheap for out here.
Yeah, rent is nasty, man. And how did your family take it? You leaving and embracing just journey to Cali, and in general, how did they accept you wanting to fight for a living?
When I first called them and told them I'm gonna move to California and train full time, they both thought I was crazy. They're supportive. I have supportive parents. Growing up wrestling, playing football, very supportive parents. But I think I was like 21, 22, saying I'm going to move out to one of the most expensive places in North America to pay rent and pursue a fighting career. They just tried to talk some sense into me, but I wasn't open to it. But after that initial conversation, once I pulled the trigger, it's just been support since. So I'm super grateful for that.
So you basically always had this hunch that this is it. Like, I gotta go now.
Yeah, I knew from the start. This is what I've wanted to do since I was a kid, like 15 years old. I remember having conversations with my dad, watching fights and stuff. Like, that'd be so cool one day. Like, I love it. And when the opportunity came to come out here, I looked at around. I went to Team Elevation in Colorado. They have a great thing going. I went to Jackson Wink in Albuquerque. That wasn't my favorite spot. And then I came out here and checked this place out, and I never left. This was, I knew I needed to be at a major gym, and this was my fit. But I knew I had to go then. I couldn't hesitate. If I didn't act then, I probably wouldn't be here right now.
And what were your thoughts when you already knew it's AKA at one point? I mean, those were the four horsemen, right? With Cain, DC, now Khabib, and Rockhold. And what were your thoughts? Just what was your mindset actually stepping into this huge name, Jim?
There was a lot of nerves, man. It was probably one of the most nervous times of my life, was first coming to AKA, and it's a gauntlet out here, man. There's so many killers the world hasn't heard of, and especially now there's a new generation of AK fighters coming up that the world's going to soon know all their names. But when I first got out here, I celebrated with some of my friends. I was like, oh, I'm moving to Cali. I got out here on a Monday, got to AK. Coach Hogg gave me his little look. He didn't know me. Said, hey, I got a 55er who has a fight coming up. Can you give him some rounds? I was like, sure. Shouldn't have said yes. His name's Tomas. He's a glory kickboxer. One of the best kickboxers, the best kickboxer I've ever sparred. We go in there, spinning back kicks to the liver, uppercuts to the body, leg kicks, head kicks. And Coach Hogg chuckled and he goes, welcome to AKA. And ever since, I mean, you talk about being down on yourself, like, wow, this is the level? Holy shit. But it was an everyday grind of, a little better, a little better, a little better. And it paid off 3 years now. Now
And
that's family.
awesome. And besides these elite fighters, what's it like working with these masterminds in Coach Hogg, Bob Cook, Josh Thompson?
That's the other thing, is we have the best training partners, but you also, when you're in there sparring, you're under the watchful eye of Coach Hogg, Bob Cook. DC might be watching the rounds. Cain might be watching the rounds. Josh Thompson. John Fitch is in there giving input. That last generation guys are very influential in this new generation. They take pride in what they created. Like Josh is even before DC and Cain. And so, he takes pride in that. So he wants to see this next generation come up. So when that's the constructive criticism you're getting, you're just constantly being built. Sometimes it's hard. Like I've gone in there, feel like I have the best sparring rounds of my life. I'm like, oh, I was on. I felt good. And then it's just all criticism. But that's what it takes to be great, right? You might get one compliment at camp from one of those coaches. If you're lucky.
But yeah, it's definitely helping with the growing. I mean, there's always room to improve, and focusing too much on your triumphs doesn't fill out those holes in your game. So you always got to be focused on that. What was the next discipline that you got into after the wrestling?
It was wrestling, and then jiu-jitsu. I went to this small gym in Tulsa, doing jiu-jitsu, and then this coach was so big on bag work. He had these big things of paper on the walls, and it was like, every day you got to come in, you got to do X, Y, and Z, this many rounds on the bag, and then you can start doing other stuff. So a lot of bag work, which that just laid the foundation for striking fundamentals, learning. So my next would have been jiu-jitsu with a heavy dose of bag work.
And how did you adapt to the striking part of it?
Oh man, at first I thought I was good, and then I'd get punches thrown at me and I'd freeze, right? But that's so normal, especially when you're in the heat of the combat. Sparring is one thing, but to be able to bring that relaxation into the cage is another thing. And I wouldn't say it was till like my third fight at AKA, I started really feeling that relaxation in the cage of like, okay, we can take our time. If they throw, we just slip, we just move, right? Years, I think from 15 to 25, I was learning.
And jiu-jitsu, did you go gi or no gi?
At first I did gi. I don't even think I did it a month because I like my training sessions to be practical to what I'm trying to achieve. And I would do gi and I was like, well, man, I can't grab a lapel in a fight. So what do I grab? And I didn't want to, sometimes you'll go with gi grapplers and no gi and they're trying like lapel chokes on you. That's not going to work in no gi. So I didn't want to create these habits. I wanted to know my grips, my handles. And so I ditched the gi. There'll come a time later in life I want to be a coach and own a gym and stuff. So the time for a gi will come, but not right now.
Yeah, there's some sort of pride in being able to say this belt in jiu-jitsu, though, right?
Yeah,
it's another.
And yeah, I do have I aspire to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu. That day will come. But right now belts don't matter, you know.
Besides that gold one.
That UFC belt, that's the one that matters, yeah. Those gi belts don't matter yet.
Now, going back to AKA, how starstruck were you when you just stepped in there?
At first it was there. I couldn't show it though, you know. I'm not one to show that. I'm not gonna be the fanboy over here. But being around I remember walking in, man, it was like DC, Caín, they're talking. There's John Fitch is over there. Coach Hav even I was like, the little kid inside me is in a candy store, you know, like, holy shit, this is crazy. But you know what it did? It changed even Khabib, right? I thought Khabib, DC, Caín, Luke, all these guys, in my head before coming out here, they were some superstar, some like, holy shit, like that guy, he's big, he's the biggest. And then I get out here and there's a bit of normalcy. They're just normal ass dudes. They're cool. They do the same thing we're doing. I mean, they just work their ass off, right? They show up to training sessions on time. They put in extra time and they just train their ass off. Hard work and dedication. So when I started seeing it and it became normal, it was like, oh, wow, this is so achievable. Like, that's one thing I'm so grateful for, especially like DC just laying the groundwork for us. And he incorporates a lot of us next generation guys. And he's really laid down the blueprint of like, yo, follow the AKA game plan, and that UFC gold is very attainable. So being able to normalize superstars like that was big for the psyche in the game, you know?
Yeah, at some point they were you could say, just someone on the grind, and hard work has gotten them to where they are right now.
Yeah, I had some conversations with DC. He was telling me that when him and Luke first got out here, they were sleeping on milk cartons with a thin mattress on top in Bob Cook's garage. So, you know, and then I'm talking with them and they're superstars. So it's cool to relate. Like, okay, I'm in the living room over here, right? I got a little mattress and a tiny little clip fan on a piece of cardboard. So it's cool to relate and hear where they come from. And a lot of guys have that story, you know. This doesn't happen overnight.
And I think there's got to be some sort of struggle to actually feed you that energy, that will to fulfill whatever you're chasing, right?
Yeah, it's important. Uh, it definitely it feeds that hunger and to stay disciplined, to stay true to what you came out here for, and it's part of the journey. You got to enjoy the scenery along the route. You can't just get too focused on where you want to be. You got to enjoy every step of the process, and I have, you know. So I'm extremely grateful to be in this position and finally get my platform that I've worked hard for. This wasn't handed to me, this was earned.
As is. And you say since you got there 3 years ago, you've been a constant training partner with Khabib, and you training with him personally. How just amazing is his work ethic? Like, just put that into perspective. How much of a beast is this guy in the gym?
It's pretty unbelievable to see. It's so I have, ever since I've been out here, I have this thing, and I find the guy in the room, and it's Khabib or DC, and that's the work ethic I want to push, right? That's what I want to match. Khabib is, it's relentless. That's the only word I can put for it. He's going to go in the cage 5 rounds with 4 or 5 different people. Then he's going to go grapple 5 or 6 rounds. And then he's going to do a crazy little core workout he always does and stretch after. Then he's going to come right back to the gym a few hours later, hit an hour of mitts with Coach Hav, walk right upstairs into our AK bike workout. And he's just pushing an insane pace this whole time, right? There's no taking a day off. There's no half-assing a practice. It's 100% effort 100% of the time. And it's very admirable. It's very admirable.
And we recently heard DC say there is not a man from 155 to 185 that can keep it on the feet with Khabib. Just how that's crazy, man. 185 has some big boys. How true is that?
So I don't even think it's the thing about him is, okay, he takes a shot, you stop it. That's fine. Well, you got to stop 40 more if that's what it's going to take. He does not stop. I'm telling. The word for him is relentless. It's okay. You stop 2 takedowns. Well, he's still right here. Shot. Oh, you stopped that one. Shot. But he's at such a level where he's using these little head fakes to set up strikes, and then those strikes right back into a takedown. So it's his persistence that can't be stopped. You're not gonna. Coach Hav always says father's game plan. Even before the passing of his father, it was always when you're sparring him, you hear Coach Hav, all right, Khabib, father's game plan. You're like, shit, here it comes, right? And he's just walking you down, faking. And he's going to get it. You can punch him as hard as you want. You can kick him as hard as you want. You can stop 5 in a row. But he never wavers off that game plan. He's just a one-track mind of, and I haven't got to see him since the passing of his father, but I can't imagine how important that is to him now. Father's game plan and staying true to that and what got him here. So I'm excited to see what he's able to do in this next fight.
Absolutely. Is he coming back to AKA for this training camp or?
No, Hav's going to go out there and help him get ready out there. He's got a great setup out there, man. He opened his own gym, Eagles MMA. He's got Islam Makhachev's one of the best 55ers on the planet. He's the next champ. Islam Makhachev is a freak. He's got Zubaira, Umar, and dudes we've never heard of that are just killers, right? So he's going to bring Hav in. They're going to train out there. And I imagine they're going to be pretty dialed in, ready to defend that belt.
Yeah, those Dagestani dudes are something else, right?
He'll come out with, he always brings a posse with him. That's one thing, man. He's not selfish in the least bit. He puts everyone around him. So he'll come and he'll bring like 7 or 8 just guys you've never even heard of. Guys, there's one, Haji, he's in the PFL, Sagid. He's got these guys who are on the come up, and they're killers. They're every bit of a UFC fighter. They're just not there yet. So, yeah, those Dagestan, there's something in the water in Dagestan.
Yeah, absolutely. There's something down there, man. Those guys, how does their wrestling with that Sambo background compare to traditional American wrestling?
Yeah, two very different styles, right? American wrestling, we like to hit leg attacks and change angles, right? So we'll go high crotch, run double, run back on a single. They're very upper body. They want to bring you upper body and find trips and sweeps and throws, and they're very crafty with it. So yeah, I'd say it's more of like a leg attack, change angle game, and bring you upper body, toss you. So there's a chess game there with trying to implement your style on them. That's why I think Gaethje's going to have some problem. Is he's not going to get an American feel of wrestling. It's a very unorthodox, something you're not used to unless you train with it feel.
Yeah, that's what I was telling the homies back here. They're like, oh, Gaethje's defensive wrestling is amazing. Like, yeah, but that's American Division I wrestling. These guys are different. I mean, you saw Gaethje defending numerous blast doubles from Jordan Burroughs, right? And that's amazing, but this is something else. This is not just your everyday American wrestling, right?
No, because that's when Khabib gets in on the shot, when he enters the hips, he's just getting started. So he wants you to bring him up, right? Feed a hip and bring him up, because now he's going to come upper body. He's going to sag you down. He's going to get a body lock, whatever. So, and then if you stop that, he's got good sweeps, good trips. So it's going to be a different feel for Gaethje. It's going to be a chess game for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one because Gaethje's a beast, and this new Gaethje we've seen, it's just amazing. That's really organized chaos. But Khabib's striking he's no chump, man. He's awkward, but he's got really good fundamentals and neat boxing.
He uses those feints of the wrestling, because I don't care who you are, you have to respect the wrestling of Khabib, you know? Gaethje's a killer. Like, and we saw in that fight with Tony Ferguson, he might hit harder than any 55er we've ever seen.
Probably.
And you know, he's settled down in fights. He's a world-class fighter. But you have to respect the wrestling of Khabib. And what he does is he does those little down feint, down feint, down feint. And then you don't know if he's shooting, hooking. And then that's where his striking excels, is using the wrestling feints to open up the striking.
You're just too busy anticipating that takedown, right?
Yeah, because, I mean, it just takes one, and then there's a round, right?
Yeah, you're not getting back up.
Yeah, if you make it out, there's a round. So, and then that coming into the second round, now you got to be a little hesitant throwing your shots 100%, because you're already down a round.
And he's going like that all 5. There's cardio for days, right?
Cardio for days. I was talking with Josh Thompson, and I didn't even realize this, but Josh said that the elevation of Dagestan or something is like 8,000 feet. It's
8,
up there.
8,000?
Or something like that. I should fact check that before I say it, but I believe that's what Josh had said.
Well, even half of that's impressive, man.
They're at a high elevation, and I think people fail to recognize that, because these dudes come in shape. They can go.
That's insane. That, you know, people go to Big Bear because of elevation. I'm sure that's not even near those hills up there.
Yeah, they're real mountain men.
And it's crazy to see that lifestyle, right? I mean, you imagine someone like Khabib making all this money and just being happy in that place. It's right. It's pretty cool. And right now, with all this COVID going on, how's it affected your training, if it's affected it at all?
It's affected it just because AK is not fully accessible for us, so we don't have that. We don't have that, that team vibe, the camaraderie of just everybody in the room. We're all doing bike together at night. But it hasn't changed my training at all. I've been fortunate through quarantine when all this stuff started. Josh Thompson took me under his wing, and we were working 5 days a week, doing mitts. I was going to AK at noon with the pro fighters, and then being at Josh's at 4:30 with no fight. Coach Hobb was saying here, like, hey, just stay ready for some kind of short notice UFC in case. And then, so I was training, but it wasn't my AKA routine. But I'm so grateful Josh and I built that relationship, because that gave me that structure of, 2 to 3 trainings a day, hard intensity.
Awesome. And with this upcoming fight, which congrats, by the way, what's your mindset coming into Dana White's Contender Series? Like, do you think this type of preparation is, what's your mindset? Because you got a totally different camp for this fight with all this COVID. What's your mindset coming into it? Do you feel you could get in that cage at 100% with this kind of training?
Yeah, I'm showing up the best me that's ever walked in the cage. There's no excuse for that. That's outside circumstances. We adapt. You have to. If you don't, you're going to get left behind. So I've adapted. Like I said, I got a training journal. I've been writing for months. I could show you that every day I write 3 things in the morning, and I would write Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. I signed my contract. I didn't know when or how. I just knew that, okay, I was going to get an opportunity. Just keep pushing. There's no excuse, dude. I'm coming ready. I've had sparring partners. My grappling's sharp. They're going to see the best me they've seen. My mindset, I'm just coming with bad intentions. The skill set's there, the technique's there. I'm not going into this like, oh, I have to just do this to get a contract. No, I'm just going to go perform. I'm going to be me. And I'm confident that the best me is going to put on a performance worthy of a UFC contract. And so it's just, my mantra for this camp is intentions. So when I throw, it has intention, and how the finish comes, the flow of the fight will lead to that. But I'm going to throw with intention.
Awesome, no doubt. And you mentioned you had this journal, and I see you sporting the UFC gear, right? Are you a firm believer in, like, if I preach this out into the world, if I put it out there, if I just say it, things come to me? Like, you get me with that spiritual vibe?
100%, man. That's that, Conor McGregor brought it to the game, the law of attraction. He said, oh, if you speak these things, you believe it, it happens. So I started looking at it, started following, like, Watch the Secret, entry level stuff on this law of attraction. Like, what is this? Okay, our thoughts can bring about things. So I started testing it. And I actually have at my mom's house in Oklahoma, I have a billboard that I wrote these dreams that I went on. And it says UFC by the age of 25. I have a Instagram post I saw the other day from 2016. And it said, I will make the UFC by the age of 25 in the caption. And, this didn't make sense. This people were probably looking at this like, wow, this guy's an idiot. But I thought, okay, I'm going to believe in this so much, I'm going to say it. Well, September 15th, I fight for my contract. September 23rd, I turn 26. So, you can't, some people can just say it happens by chance. I don't believe so. I believe our thoughts and desires, Jim Carrey says, if you put a rocket of desire in the universe and you work your ass off, it's going to come true. So I believe I created this event, man. Like, as crazy as that sounds, like, through my journaling, through my meditations, through what I spoke, even in January, earlier this year, before COVID, I wrote, this is the story of the hustler and dreamer. Don't forget, I'm writing a comeback story from 5-3. So when I sign this UFC contract this summer, don't be surprised. I didn't have any lineup of this, but I just knew it was likely to happen. So going back to that, yeah, dude, I think that shit's powerful. I think that we're in control. We're not just here by chance. We're in control of our reality and our destiny. So I'm going to continue to play on that, and I'm going to continue to play things out in my head how I wish them to go and outwork everyone around me.
Awesome. And do any other guys at the gym have like a similar thing to you, you know, paying this extreme attention to your mental, just predicting, taking notes, basically being a student, an actual student, not just a practitioner of the game? Or is that like your thing? Do you notice like, oh, I'm the weird guy that does this?
I've been the weird guy, man. I've lived with a good amount of fighters out here for after Kretschmer. I lived with Deron Wynn and Luis Pena, you know, and it's just, they give me shit here and there, but it's kind of my thing, you know, to each their own. Everyone's different. Everyone has their little nicks and knacks that make them who they are. And that's just kind of mine. John Fitch got me on that. He said he journaled his whole GSP camp, and he got to like show his kids his journal from a whole GSP camp of like good days, bad days. This just get to go back and see. So that's where the inspiration came from, and I just started doing it.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. And speaking of your upcoming fight, well, it's Dana White's Contender Series, right? There's not a lot of fans in there anyways, right? But when you get this contract, not if, when, because I don't doubt it, going into a first fight with no fans, what's your mindset on that? Because we're probably not going back to normality until mid next year. Are you like sort of, let's say, thankful to not have that overwhelming pressure on you right at the beginning? Or you're like, man, I wish this was a full venue?
I wish, man. It's I feed off that energy. I look for it, you know. Coming up fighting in Tulsa, I would sell a lot of tickets. I have a good following in Tulsa, and you know, it's a raw energy. You know, it feels bigger than you. It's like, oh wow, like you hear your people up there. But like I said earlier, with the COVID situation, if you want to be the best, you gotta adapt. You gotta acclimate to the outside circumstances around you. And so, I mean, shit, it is what it is. You know, I'm gonna come with the fans, without the fans. I'm gonna bring my shit, and it'll be nice when they do get there. It'll be a nice little add-on, but. No, I haven't got into that too much. We're doing in our visualizations, you know, like recognizing that there's no one in the crowd, how silent it is. Probably going to feel a little cold, you know, because we're warming up in the back when we get in the cage. Probably going to feel a little cold and quiet. And so we're doing that. And I don't mind it. It'll be fine. Hopefully I land some good shots and people can hear how hard I can hit.
That's the thing, because I used to hear Bisping, like when this whole thing started, saying, "Did you hear that? It echoed." I'm like, "Well, yeah, dude, you're in an empty arena. Of course, it's gonna echo." But
yeah,
later on, you would cringe when you hear those shots. You're like, you could feel them. It's got its benefits, right? It's kind of cool actually watching a few fights with no crowd.
It is. Like I said, I mean, that's why I got Justin Gaethje. He's probably the hardest 155er we've ever seen, because you watch him fight Tony Ferguson with no crowd and the dude's landing bombs. Like, that's crazy.
That man's got no quit in him, right? Tony's a beast, man.
Man, he walks through him. Yes, the dude's a zombie. That's for sure.
Yeah, his mind was still there wanting to fight, but his body was just not having it anymore.
Yeah, you can only take so many of those.
That's a Mack truck to the face. Gaethje's got some fire.
he said, what is it Gaethje says? He says he creates car accidents. And I mean, that's exactly what you saw in that fight.
That
Like,
was scary to hear, man. That was.
yeah,
But I think the quote that has brought the most chills to my mind, to my body, excuse me, was going back to this last Khabib Tony press conference when Tony said, "You've never been in a street fight," and Khabib answered, "I would eat you in a street fight." That was scary to hear. There's just this thing that's so scary about Khabib because any fighter could tell you in a press conference, "I'm gonna beat the shit out of you." But when Khabib tells you that, I mean, you gotta believe it. You gotta expect it, right?
yeah, and he's a no nonsense kind of guy, dude. He's not just saying shit. So, over in Dagestan, I guess you beat the shit out of someone, you can eat them. Because what is it? He said, like, over here, the cops will come get you, brother. In Dagestan, I eat you. Like, what? You're such a savage.
It was scary to hear. Or when he told Conor he wanted to change his face.
Yeah. It's a different culture, man. Islam Makhachev told me, we were just kind of chopping it up after training one time and messing around. He said, brother, you never go to Dagestan. You smile too much. He said, people, why you smile at me? All right, I noted that one. I won't be there.
And there's just this extreme loyalty between all those guys, right? Because we just heard Hamza Chimaev, which has actually admitted to never meeting Khabib, but just because he felt Conor disrespected their thing, their culture, actually took a plane by himself to try to beat the dude up in Khabib's name. So that loyalty, that bond, that's amazing, right?
Yeah, it's special to see, for sure. You come in, when they're in the gym, like I said, he brings a posse with him. He brings like 7 or 8 of them. And before practice, they're over here stretching each other out, giving each other massages. It's just, that's their family, man. They're loyal, they're bonded, but then our relationship with them, right? It's since I've been here, it's grown, and it's equivalent. When they're here, it's like that's our added on family. They're, if you need anything at all, there's no hesitation. And it's special to see. It's definitely different. I feel like in American culture, a lot of times you'll see more just kind of more selfish mentalities of like, me, my career, this, but it's all of them. It's a unit.
Like, it was amazing when Habib had that issue after the Conor fight with the commission and all that. He's like, I don't care about the purse money, keep it, and I'm not coming back until you let my brothers come back and have theirs. That was amazing, man.
There you go, man. I mean, that sums it up right there. Like, that sums it up. That's him. That's all of them.
Yeah, they're just this all for one and one for all attitude. And that's great to see. And going back to your journaling and all of that, I imagine you're a big food for thought guy too, and you're a big reader, right? You read a lot?
Yeah, read a lot.
And just like what kind of literature do you like, or just mental awareness content? What do you actually read?
You can find me in the self-help section. I recently read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It's a very powerful book. I like a lot of Bob Proctor's teaching. He brings about the law of attraction, just staying in like, a mindset of abundance. Life's meant to be abundant all around. Russ wrote a good book, the rapper Russ. Think and Grow Rich was a good one. David Goggins wrote a good one, Can't Hurt Me.
So you got your own little library there.
Yeah, I got a little library up here. There's some, The Outliers is a great one. I just like reading stuff from successful people. I like listening to TED Talks. I like listening to what successful people have to say. I think it's powerful. I think they all have their own little little nicks that you can take and add to your own routines. So just stuff to keep you on a good frequency mindset.
And are you like the kind of old school dude to pick up a book and actually read it, or you go ebooks, audio podcasts?
I like to read it. I like to sit there and read it. That's I like to exercise the mind. To me, it's like a mind workout, and I'm getting good input, because they say your diet is more than what you eat, right? It's what you consume outside. It's external things. So I like to read it and absorb it.
Awesome. And have you put any thought into, like, I'm in the Contender Series, my name's going to be put out there. Have you put any thought into, oh shit, people are going to know me where I go anywhere, or there's a higher possibility that, oh, there's people that actually going to know who I am? Like, have you put any thought into that?
I haven't given that much thought. No, I haven't thought too much into that. It just, maybe after the fight it'll hit me, but right now it's just show up and put on a winning performance, and that's all I'm really looking for. But like we had discussed earlier, I knew this stuff would come. I've felt it for a long time. So that's all a byproduct of success. So, I've had many meditations, visualizations of that exact situation. And so that won't be, just like getting the news for Contender, it was cool, but it wasn't some shock to me. Like, it wasn't crazy, because I felt it before. I knew it was going to come. So no, I haven't thought too much on that. It's just go perform, go be me.
And nowadays we see in the UFC these guys, well, to put their name out there, we're in this kind of entertainment era, right? We see guys playing a gimmick, a character, or a persona, however you may call it. What's your take on that part of the game? And do you have any of that to offer, or you think your genuine self is quite relatable and appealing to the eye?
Yeah, I'm not going to try to be something I'm not, like I said, to each their own. Everyone's got their things that make them different. I believe it's a show, it's a show from the time you step on that scale, the show starts. You got to make your weight. Boom, show's on. From the time the performance is over, whether it's Contender Series or local scene or UFC, it's a show. You got to put on a show. And I'm a showman. I can talk on the mic. My skills will speak for themselves. And so I don't see myself getting too caught up in all the crazy stuff, but I just don't see that.
All right, fair. And how much do you normally walk around at, by the way?
Outside of camp?
Yeah.
The biggest for me is like 175. That's big.
Is that due to just this lockdown, or?
I think right when quarantine started, I hit 175 just because it was like crazy, man, especially out here in San Jose, Northern California. It was locked down. And yeah, I think I hit 175. And then I just kind of, early on in this quarantine, I just kind of started dialing it back in. And my ideal walk around weight in a camp is 160. So I've been steady 168 for a couple months now.
And do you like just cut down to that and then try to just water dehydrate, or is it mostly
I don't really cut to that. That's when I train and eat properly. That's my flat. So then when I got the call, I think it was like 19 days away from the fight. So I was 168. Plenty of time. Start drinking more water. My snacks are a cup of fruit with some almonds. So we just make some small changes, tighten it up a little bit with the meals, the timing of the meals. Got the nutritionist on. So now we start slow, week by week. We'll get down, and then I like to diet and train down to like 157 with 2 gallons of water in me. And then, because that's 16 pounds of water with 11 pounds to go. So then we start the cut process of like the baths, the sauna, and we get the rest of that weight off.
Do you ever go keto or vegan, any of that stuff, or?
No.
Have you tried it?
I haven't. I just kind of keep it pretty simple, you know, chicken, rice, and veggies, small portions. That's just that's my go-to.
And how much does a weight cut actually suck, or do you not suffer through it?
No, I suffer. You suffer, but they have it down to such a science now. As long as you stay disciplined, you'll be fine. It's not easy. It's never going to be easy, but you know, I'm not a 55er. You know, I see 55ers. I felt Islam Makhachev before. I'm not a 55er. Those guys are 85, 90. So it's necessary for me. I believe I'm a big UFC featherweight. And you know, I just stay disciplined. I do what they tell me, and I make my weight.
Awesome. And what's the thing you most miss eating while cutting weight?
I cherish it every single time. It's hot apple pie and vanilla ice cream.
Yeah? You're into sweets? Because I'm a guy that sees people eating sweets, and I'm like, man, that looks tasty. I wish I could eat that. But I don't know. It just not appeals to my taste buds. I'm more like a salty dude, chips, things like that.
No, and that's the thing, dude, is I'm not even a sweets guy. But when I'm cutting weight, I always think of hot apple pie and ice cream.
Does that come from your fam, or where does that apple pie come from?
Dude, I don't even remember. I think it was just like, I don't even remember. But I remember back in like high school cutting weight for wrestling and stuff, I'd be watching a video of hot apple pie and ice cream.
So right after finish camp, that's probably the first thing you're munching at.
Not even. It's just when I cut weight, I think about it.
It's like your oasis in the desert, right?
It is. It's weird because I mean, after the fight, I'm looking for some pizza and beer or a burger and beer. So I'll get to the apple pie and ice cream, but it doesn't have to be first.
Awesome. And now in this weird COVID times, you see guys that go into a fight, they perform well, don't really take any damage, and they take another fight like that. What's your take on that? Do you think you would be a kind of guy to do that during these situations, or would you rather take your time and prepare with a appropriate camp during these times?
I want to, you know, they want everyone to be a yes man, be ready to fight. And yes, I'm always down to fight. But I also want to maximize my potential in the UFC. My buddy Jack Shore, he recently hit the scene at 135. He's a killer. And I admire what he's doing. He's taking his time. He had a great performance in his last fight against some newcomer. And he could have, right? I'll turn around and fight in 2 weeks. But no, he said, I'm going to go back. I'm going to fix some things. I want to come back in October. And I admire that. I want to go that same route, because you notice in the UFC, man, they'll fast track you like that. And so I'd prefer to take my time. I'd prefer to, you know, get this contract, set my birthday's the week after, so celebrate my birthday. But even then I'll be training, you know. I'd like to fight September 15th, sometime in November, December, sometime to grow, because that's just what I would like to see, similar to Jack.
And I imagine that, I mean, you do this full camp for a fight and you come out just fine after, let's say, a first rounder, you kind of feel you didn't take advantage of your whole camp in the cage, right? And you need to put more output, right?
Yeah, like you saying, like when the fight's done and it's an early fight, it's kind of
Yeah.
like unfulfilling, almost like, whoa, it's already done. Yeah. As long as I get that contract, I won't feel that way.
Awesome. And you mentioned you're pretty into the Warzone. I see you got the gamer chair and the headset. How much of a gamer are you? Like, are you really big on it?
I'm not really big on it at all. No, like I'm nothing special. I don't play it too much, but between after sparring before a mid session, you got 2 or 3 hours. I really only play with the same two people, my cousin Donovan and my best friend Tate. I just hop in the war zone with them and get some games in. They always carry me. They get all the kills.
So that's your
But
go-to
it's
games? Like you like shooters, things like that?
uh not even. I like Madden. Madden's my game. Been playing a lot of 2K golf. That just came out. And but yeah, Warzone is, if I got some time, we're gonna play some Warzone.
And have you gotten your hands on the new Madden? Because I've been hearing a lot of awful reviews on it.
I got it last night and I feel like the 2020 was better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The gameplay is a little awkward, but I haven't really got to play much. So I'll get back to you on that review.
Awesome. And are you playing those UFC games?
No, I didn't get it because I heard it was pretty whack, but I haven't got it now.
Yeah, sort of. It's kind of whack. It's not the greatest, but hopefully it'll get patched up a bit. What do you game on? Are you a console dude or PC?
Just the Xbox.
Just Xbox?
Yeah. Just
You
hop
always been
on
an
with the
Xbox
X.
guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And
Yeah.
now golf. Since when do you have this love for golf?
Man, it's my dad's big into golf. He's a big golfer. And he had a set of clubs for me. I'm left-handed in golf, so he had these clubs for me back home, and I think it was like early in the quarantine, maybe. I don't remember when, but I was like, yo, send me those clubs. And he sent them, and I guess it's a phrase in golf, you caught the bug. You got the golf bug. And I was just ate up with it, dude. I still am. There's a net in the backyard with a turf to hit on. I'm a regular over at the Santa Teresa. The head coach started recognizing me over there. I love it, dude. I think it's so much fun.
Yeah, and it seems to suit you well because you seem like a real chill dude, and golf just seems so relaxing and
Dude,
so calm.
yeah, you're outside in the sun for like 3 or 4 hours. Some of your friends, maybe have some beers with your boys, just play some golf. I mean, it's like my escape. I still get to improve. I was joking around saying I'm gonna retire fighting around 35, and then I'm gonna start my run for the senior PGA tour. I got by 50, so I'm confident with 15 years of training, I'll be able to make that senior PGA.
Awesome. So you're just getting into it then, right? You've just recently
No,
done.
I growing up, my dad, he didn't push it, but we played golf. I lived in the middle of nowhere, Bixby, Oklahoma. Front yard was like 3 acres and my backyard was a hunting lease. So we had room for anything. I taught myself how to punt a football out there and hit a golf ball. Well, my dad taught me how to hit the golf ball. So we would just go out there and hit balls into the woods. So I learned early on, but I had to get the rust off. It had been a while.
Isn't it weird how you could be an orthodox dude, but for certain things you have to go lefty?
It's so weird, man. Like golfing and hitting a baseball bat, I'm left-handed, but throwing, I'm right-handed. Fighting, I'm right-handed. So I don't know. It's just weird.
It was just like that just your first instinct when you picked up a bat or a golf club? Did you just think this feels more comfortable for me? Did you ever try out of instinct? I'm right-handed, so I'm gonna do it this way, and you just didn't feel comfortable, or
I think early on when I was young, like, playing kids baseball, t-ball, I think it started there because I was so awkward, right? So my dad just put me on the other side and it came so natural. So then it's like, okay, he's left-handed. So when they put a golf club in my hand, it was a left-handed golf club. And that's just what happened.
awesome. And this is one of the last questions that were submitted to me by some of the listeners. It says, after you get your contract and you start climbing, picture yourself in a title shot. What do you think Volkanovski's weakest link is?
If I were to fight Volkanovski, I'm going to test his wrestling. I would push a pace of wrestling on him, see if he can sustain that. I saw him at the PI. I went out and cornered Deron Winn for UFC 249. And just naturally, man, being a fighter, I see him there. I'm sizing him up. And I just
thick, right?
He was thick. He's short, but he's thick. He was a big boy. He cuts a lot of weight too. So wrestling, man, I think this whole division of 145 has a wrestling hole.
Yeah.
Yes, I think a lot of them. There's not too many strong wrestlers, and I'm not talking boring wrestling like lay and pray. I've taken my lumps from Khabib. I've been in there. I get Dagestani armbarred and I get beat up. But what has happened is when I go in fights and I get takedowns, I start finding that on people, and it's only going to get more and more. So I think that's gonna fly me through these featherweight rankings as I climb. That's gonna be my tool, and I'm not gonna go away from that. If Volkanovski's the champ when my time comes, he better stop it. And then if he does, we'll assess the striking. But I'm gonna put wrestling on all these dudes, every one of them. They got to stop it.
Awesome. And what's your take on the GOAT of featherweight? Who do you got?
Go to featherweight. I'm gonna say Max.
Over Aldo? He's obviously got the wins over him, right? But
he's got the wins. Maybe I'm just thinking like new era. But I'm gonna say Max, man. I like him. I guess I'm saying that because of the wins. Because I mean, Aldo didn't lose a fight for a decade at featherweight, right? He didn't even get pushed. But I like Max. Max is I met Max through DC. Max is a cool guy, but that would be a fight when they say your idols become your rivals type deal. That would be one right there. I know that was Aldo for him. Like when he got to fight Aldo and beat up Aldo, I know that was like a holy shit. It's an idol became a rival. So I'm gonna give it to Max just because I like him a lot. But if before he's done I could get in that cage with him, that would be a dream come true.
Definitely. And what do you think about that Max Volkanovski rematch?
I thought Max won. He did what he needed to do. Volkanovski has some good leg kicks, that's for sure.
He's got trunks for legs.
He's got tree trunks for legs, and he throws those kicks hard. I liked Max's vibe in the fight. I liked his whole quarantine vibe. He had the hair. I like him, man. He's the real deal. I would have loved to see him win that fight. I thought he did win the fight, but I think Volkanovski turned down he tried to shut down that trilogy fight, huh?
Yeah, he's not wanting any of that again, right?
Which I see both sides. I mean, unless Korean Zombie, who he got a fight. Is he fighting Brian Ortega?
Yeah, finally.
Yeah. I think if Korean Zombie wins that, he's definitely got a great case to be in the next title fight. Then maybe Max after, because I see Volkanovski's like, come on, man, I beat him twice. Like, please let me get someone else.
So you gave him the first one too? You gave Max the first fight too?
No, I thought he lost the first one because the leg kicks were more dominant in that first one. I think Volkanovski was more in control, but that's the thing with this game, man. The judges, you never know if you let it in their hands.
Yeah, and most of the time, or sometimes, and not even the judges, it's this boxing scoring system, man.
It's a boxing scoring system. Yeah, and then you got shit like Joe Rogan is sitting over there saying like, this judge is on his phone. Like, I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
I don't remember when it was, but like this judge is on his phone. And then, like you said, it's a boxing scoring system. So someone gets a double leg and they're hitting some awesome passes with their jiu-jitsu, getting to dominant positions. You go ask this judge what a Kimura is and he doesn't know, So I think that's a gap that will soon be filled because it's still a young sport, MMA. So they're still fixing the pieces, and I think that's one of the big holes that need to be filled is the judging and the accountability of judges. And I say, why isn't Joe Rogan a judge? Like, even if he's in his studio in Texas, watching remote, submitting a fight card via whatever, some app. But that's one of the greatest minds in mixed martial arts, and he's shown to be very unbiased with his, he talks to everyone, he's friends with everyone, and he's unbiased. And he's very professional in everything he does. So you can't, I don't think Joe Rogan would be biased in a fight. I think he's gonna sit there, watch that thing, and he's gonna judge it according to what he sees. So I think once you take little actions like that, as opposed to Sharon, who is a boxing person,
Speaking about Joe Rogan, like hopefully we get to see you on the JRE eventually.
Well,
what do you picture that conversation as?
Man, I want to smoke a joint with him. Get on there, smoke a joint with them, and just chop it up, kind of tell my story, get his input. And yeah, I listen to it, man. And like with everything I've done, the visualization, the meditations, I do that with Joe Rogan's podcast. I get the feelings of what it would be like to get notified, like they're going to have you on. Just little stuff like that I do puts me in a cool headspace.
You got that on your journal, JRE podcast? Yeah. That's when you know you made it, right? You're on the JRE.
That's when you know you've done something, man. It's
awesome.
Cool. He had a good one. I like the one. He just had Post Malone on. I thought that was a good one.
That was hilarious, man. It was so hilarious.
Man, I didn't know Post.
Funny dude, man.
He's so chill. He's so chill.
Elon Musk was cool too, but you get to know how good of an interviewer this dude is. Elon Musk, not the easiest guy to do it with, and Joe is just so amazing in dissecting these conversations. And like he's one of those guys. It's like Chael Sonnen, Ben Askren. You can listen to those guys talk about anything during the whole day, and you'll never get bored. There's just something about those, right?
Yeah, and I think DC's that way too.
DC's amazing.
He's such a smooth talker, man, and he can talk about anything. He's knowledgeable, and he's got a good mouthpiece. He can talk. I think they're doing a great job with that podcast as well. I'm sure their numbers are through the roof.
Yeah, they're moving to Spotify on tomorrow, after tomorrow. It's a big deal.
DC and Areola.
Oh, I mean,
Oh, Joe Rogan.
JRE. But yeah,
Yeah,
Ariel
yeah.
and DC is pretty entertaining too, man. DC brings a lot to the table, man.
He's entertaining, man.
And how was the ambience during this um, camp for DC's last fight?
I wasn't around this every other since I've been out here. I've been around his camps and stuff, but I wasn't around too much for this one. Because his wife is pregnant, and so they were taking precaution with COVID. So I didn't get to be around him as much, which it is what it is. It's the shit we're in. But in the past, it's special. It's special. He's very, like I said, he's invested in like helping the next generation and kind of showing us what it takes. And I'm fortunate that I've got to experience a handful of camps, the Volkanovski back in the day, and since it's been cool. There's a nostalgia to it. Like, yeah.
You're just taking everything in, like you said. You're just this sponge absorbing all this knowledge.
Yeah, it was when he was the double champ. Forget who he was training to fight, and we were doing a bike at AK, and he brought in both belts and he put them in the corner so he could look at them. And I mean, like we've had a conversation. I've already told you about the visualization and shit. So imagine what that was. Like I'm doing a bike now. I'm imagining these are my belts. Like
You doodle that on your journal right away, right?
Push. You want that? Go harder.
So is that in your mindset? You want to go champ?
I want to go. I just want to do champ, man. I want to be a champ, and then I think I believe I'm in a good position too because I got the frame at 45. I'm a big 45er. I'm only 25, so I'm gonna grow as I get older. So, have my run to the goal at 45, and then as my body matures and my muscles mature, maybe grow into a real 55er and see if I can mix it up there. But
once Khabib is out of there, right?
Yeah, he's out in 2 fights, I'm sure. But I gotta get that. You gotta get the first one to get the second one.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you, like, in your spot, what would you rather see as Khabib's last fight? That longly anticipated Curse Tony fight or the GSP fight?
I want to see GSP because I know that's what he wants. That's like what I just said. Your idols become your rivals. That's, I believe, his favorite fighter ever. And I for him, I'd like to see him get that. That would mean so much to him end your career against your idol. You can't write a better career than that. 30-0, beating GSP on the way out. I'd love that for him.
We might get to finally see a 165 fight, right?
Yeah, is that what they're talking about, meeting at 165?
Yeah, because GSP is like, I'm 39. I can't go down in a healthy state to 155. And he says Khabib is naturally a bigger dude than him, and GSP made middleweight. So is Khabib really that bulked?
Dude, Khabib is huge. Like, I've seen Khabib came out, maybe it was the Conor fight, like 12 weeks before the fight, maybe 10 weeks. Came out 10 weeks before the fight. He was like 200 pounds, 205 pounds.
Whoa.
And then he just gradually, because he's so disciplined. And I'm not saying he's fat, dude. You could still see like little abs. He's just a bear. He's just huge. Islam Makhachev's even bigger.
Bears, and that guy wrestles bears, man. That guy's
insane.
So were you around for that camp, for the McGregor Khabib camp?
Yeah, that was one of the first times I became like a real sparring partner. Like,
And how was the
actively.
tension and all the feel leading up to that fight? Because that buildup was nasty, man. I personally, I don't mess with that kind of buildup. I think you could trash talk the dude all you want, but going into culture, family, I think that sort of crosses the line.
You could feel the intensity in the room. It was every training session. It was AK was at a different intensity then, man. It was everyone was like, although we were all training for our own careers and in there pushing, it was like we were in there for him, you know. He was in there for us. He was repping the team. And phew, it was a high intensity. There were, I mean, UFC embeddeds were there all the time. They were just painting this picture from all this trash talk, and he's already very even go with his emotions. He's not too, he'll be goofy and stuff after training sometimes, but not in that camp. It was very on a mission to kill this man.
So there was just no way he was losing this fight.
No way. No chance he was going to lose that fight. I mean, already, you know, they're going to go fight and they're going to perform, and I think he would have done it anyway. But you add talking about his dad and his culture. Now he's tapping into something even crazier.
Like I said, those guys just feel so prideful about their honor, about their culture. It's something you don't see as much with people from the States or from anywhere else, really. I never seen someone rep their people and just be so willing to die for what represents them as those guys.
Well, dude, I feel like with the religion part of it, I mean, over here in America, there's a lot of saturated Christians, right? It's a status quo. It's you know, I want my family to be seen at church on Sunday, like we're churchgoers, right? That's cool. That's great. Everyone does their thing. But these guys, that's their life. Their Muslim religion and traditions is their life. Like if we're at training longer than we should be and they have to pray, they're on the mat right there facing the direction praying.
Wow.
On Fridays they leave early. They leave early and they go pray. It's just so, their whole life is based around it. And that's why, I mean, that's why when they talked about it, when Conor talked about it, you could just tell it struck a nerve, because that's their everything.
That you immediately knew, like, this guy's gonna get it.
Yeah, he's digging his hole even deeper, man.
And were you at least because, as you said, Khabib is persistent and he's always gonna get that takedown. But at least I was a bit impressed. But I don't think Conor gets enough credit in the ground game. I think he's good. Like, did that come off to you like, wow, this guy actually put up a fight in the takedown game?
No, you figured he would just because of who he is. He's Conor. And he's very intelligent. He brought in the right training partners to get a good feel. Remember Khabib's first shot, Conor kind of sat to a hip and created a good scramble, tried to cut the angle. And yeah, I was like, oh shit. But Khabib did what he does and he came out on top. And then that was fresh. I knew Conor would be able to do that fresh. But now you have a 180-pound bear on your back. You're not going to be that fresh when you do. If you get up, it's going to take a lot. And if you get up when the bell's done, you're going to be pretty tired. But Conor's good, right? He's good on the ground. He's a brown belt. But we're talking different levels there.
And Khabib's just so dominant that people actually had to dig in and say, you lost one round against Conor. Like, he's that dominant that you have to look for something so insignificant against him, right? Like, you lost a round, which arguably he took it off, I believe. There's even an argument of him taking it.
Yeah, that just shows you, I mean, of what he's doing. to people. Wasn't that the only round they said he's lost in the UFC?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That people are
Yeah,
so like absolutely trying to find one thing to actually say against Khabib's
that's
dominance. And like,
crazy.
oh, you lost one round to Conor
You lost one round to Conor McGregor, and then
in
look
your
what
whole
Conor
UFC.
McGregor did. Yeah, and we're talking about Conor McGregor. Like, I think sometimes now, like, he is where he is in his career. I think sometimes it gets shadowed of, he did a lot for the sport. I think he changed this game. He changed the game for fighters. I think on a lower from the regional scene up, I think he changed the game for, the value of a fighter. Of course, what drives me nuts is now we're just infected with Conor McGregor wannabes.
Yeah,
Dude's doing this. Like, dog, you can't strike. Stop that. Right? There's just a dude on Contender Series. I forget his name. I don't want to talk shit, but the second they came to the center, I was like, man, what? Come on, dude. Like,
he came in with that Vince McMahon shred, and
he came out with like be you, bro. Do your own shit. But like I said, he changed the game. There were people at a time, probably still now, there were people who, oh, do you follow UFC? Oh, that's what Conor McGregor's in, right? I know Conor McGregor, right? I think he was our first, I mean, opinion, but I think he was our first giant superstar worldwide, like big time superstar.
yeah, probably. Yeah, he got into it when UFC was expanding big time because we had stars like Liddell, Silva, GSP, but the sport just didn't have that magnitude, right?
Yeah, and he brought that Mystic Mac with him. There was a point in his career, man. What is it he said? He said Chad Mendez is tough. He's a good wrestler. I just don't see him getting out of the second with me. And then 10 seconds left in the second round, he lands his left hand and finishes the fight. And then he says with Aldo, I wish I could put on a good fight, but I think he's going to get clipped early and go down. It was like, holy shit, who is this dude? What is he doing?
Yeah, and he's one of the dudes that brought in that mental warfare into the game too.
For sure. He did, but when you see it with him, it was so genuine. That was him. It was beautiful to see because he was so amazing with it. Now I feel like you got guys that are trying to be something they're not. Like, perfect example that I always think of, Alex Hernandez fighting Donald Cowboy Cerrone.
That was cringy to see. I agree.
I've met Alex Hernandez. I've fought on an LFA car with him. Dude's nice, good, respectful guy. And then the mic comes on and he feels like, yeehaw, like geriatric fuck. Like, bro, that's not you. Be you, dog. Like, why? You don't have to sell the fight. You're fighting Cowboy Cerrone.
Yeah, exactly. And it just works against you. It's so noticeable when someone's trying to overdo something, right?
When it's forced. And that's the difference you see. That wasn't forced with Conor. That was him. But he did start to take
in this Khabib fight that it wasn't genuine hatred, but it was just selling. Like he admitted in the octagon, hey, it's only business. You think those words came out of his mouth because he was getting his ass kicked, or was it just really not genuine hate and just building up this fight?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of that. I think it was a lot of like, and also, I mean, I'd imagine trying to talk that much shit to Khabib. Like, he at least got rises out of Aldo. He at least got rises out of people, and Khabib's just over here, like I said, he's just here, man. He said one time he doesn't watch like sad movies and stuff because he doesn't believe in that sad emotion and shit like that. He's crazy. So then I think Conor was selling the fight, and I mean, it was pretty clear he just wasn't the prime Conor. I don't think he was drinking a lot. It looked like he was drinking on the stage.
He looked pretty hungover, like during the fight, man. Sloppy
didn't even admit to it. Like he was drinking and stuff.
I was hungover. I think on a JRE post, it was like the fight's first anniversary, and I think JRE said Gagey is Khabib's biggest matchup yet. Yeah, and Conor tweeted. He said, "Give me a break. I was off a hangover."
Which that's just his dumb. Like that's a dumbass move right there. But I think it was just business. I think he was getting his ass whooped, and he started to realize, like, oh, man, like it's just business.
Gotta handle your shit.
Yeah, like Khabib put those words back in his mouth.
His historical night, man. That night was crazy, but
that was crazy.
One of the most memorable nights. Well, man, I appreciate you coming over, man. I enjoy the conversation. I hope it didn't get too boring for you. And
no, I loved it, man.
I'm gonna give you this segment. Tell us where to find you at, future plans, where we could see you pretty soon. Stage is yours, man.
Find me on all my social media handles are Kai Driscoll. I just want to thank, my girlfriend. She helps me out a lot with everything, my family for all the support, my close friends, the people who knew this day would come too. I'm about to come on the Dana White Contender Series, and I'm going to steal the show. September 15th is going to be the Kyle Driscoll show. And I don't mean to take, I'm not trying to be like Sugar Sean O'Malley. I've been saying that shit. Like, I'm the show. I'm going to come put on a show. So tune in September 15th, ESPN Plus. I'm going to go do my thing, get my UFC contract. And thank you. I appreciate the platform, being able to talk, get some of my message out there. And it was good talking, man.
Awesome, man. Well, you just won yourself another fan, man. I'm really anxious to see you fight. And when you get that contract, hopefully we'll talk again soon, man. Big things coming for you. I don't doubt it one bit, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
You're welcome, man. Have a great day.
You too. Take care.